Many of you may have CAD drawings or historical maps that you wish to get into GIS, but all you have is a hard copy map, and you can scan it to get a digital copy of it, but it's not georeferenced and it doesn't line up with all your other GIS data. So what I'm going to show you how to do is how to georeference maps that don't have a coordinate system attached to it. And we're going to use the Sanborn maps as the example, which were fire insurance maps that show building footprints, the number of stories, what the buildings were used for, also the street names and boundaries at the particular time. And these are really neat because for Pennsylvania, we have them for like the late 1800s, early 1900s. So many towns have it for different time periods, and it's really kind of neat because you can see how towns have grown or changed over time. And you can see by going to the Penn State University libraries, you can just search by town and just simply click on your town to download any of these images. And again, they're not georeferenced, so they're not going to overlay on our maps. So we're going to use one of these Sanborn maps and georeference it for a location in Lebanon, the city of Lebanon. So the first thing that I need to do to start georeferencing is I have to figure out what I'm going to use to georeference it to. And in this case, a base map looks really nice because it has the streets on it and everything. So I'm using the streets base map as my reference layer, but you can use a tandem of data. Like you can get your road center lines, you can get parcels. I mean, anything that will help you figure out how to get the historical map to line up to the current day maps. So I just chose to use the base map here. So I'm going to add my non-georeferenced image of Lebanon in 1896. And when I add this, notice that we get this message that says unknown spatial reference. So it doesn't really know where to draw it on the map. So it's just going to put it in some random space. But it's telling you that it's still going to add it for you. So what we do is we just click OK on that. Notice that it gets added to our table of contents, but we don't see it on our map. What we can do is turn on our georeferencing toolbar. If you don't remember how to get to your toolbars, just right click in an empty gray area and they're all there. And then we want to make sure that our image that we want to georeference is showing here. And then we go to georeference to display. And what it does, it just puts the non-georeferenced map into our current display so that we can work with both the non-georeferenced and the georeferenced at the same time so that we can establish control points from one to the other. I'm going to move my toolbar a little bit out the way. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to find the exact same locations for different control points on this map to the current day map. And as we're setting up our control points, we want to spread them out as much as possible because it gives us a much better georeference. If we cluster them together, it winds up that the image a lot of times gets really distorted and almost unusable, and a lot of times you have to start over. So the more you can spread out your control points, the better your georeference is gonna be for you. So to get started with this, we click on this option that says add control points, and we start on the ungeoreferenced one first. So I'm going to put a point here at the intersection of Church and 8th. And then I'm going to go over to my table of contents and turn off my historical photo so I can find the corner of Church and 8th on this, and it happens to be right there. And so you can see how that correspondence was made. And now when I turn my historical map back on, notice that it adjusted the map to line up with that control point for both the current day and the historical. So then I just go to my next one. And again, I need to spread these out. So I'm going to go over here to the intersection of Church and 10th and put a point. And then again, I'm going to come over here to my table of contents and turn this off and go to the corner of Church and 10th. And again, when I turn this on, notice that it has automatically shifted this for me. And then I'm going to go down to Skull and 8th. And again, skull and eighth, which is just over here a bit, and then skull and tenth. And you can see as you just continue to add these that it starts warping the historical image so that it lines up with the current day image. So I'm going to stop there. I'd like to do more than just 4 points, but that's like the minimum that you need. The more that you add, the better the georeferences oftentimes, but I'm going to just, for demonstration's sake, call it good here. But before I go on too far, I want to show you this, and this is the link table. This is all the control points I established for the map, and there are times you're going to make mistakes, or you added a control point and it really messed up your map big time. What you can do is just click on that and hit delete to get rid of that control point, and then it will readjust back to where it was before you added that. So don't feel like you're stuck with a georeference after you've established the control points, because you can always delete them here. So now that we are finished georeferencing this, we're not quite finished yet, because what we need to do to this historical map is to write a world file for it. Like basically a projection file is still needed. So what we have to do is to go back to our georeferencing toolbar and go to georeference rectify, so that it rectifies it to the coordinate system that we're using here. So we need to tell it where we're going to save it, and I'm just going to save it right under my L drive as it says, and then we call it whatever we want to call it. I'm going to call this Lebanon 1896, and then hit save. And so it's not affecting the original image because we're writing it out as another image. You will have the ungeoreferenced and the georeferenced image. And this will take just a few seconds to run. So now that it's finished running, it doesn't get added automatically to our map. So to add it to our map, I'm going to actually turn the original one off and hit add data, and go to my L drive where I happen to have this saved, and hit add, and notice that it gets added to the map. So that's the process that is used to get a map that's not georeferenced in ArcGIS. And again, think of some of the potential here, because there are a lot of online map galleries and libraries. You probably have a ton of digital CAD drawings that may not necessarily line up with other data. This is a way to incorporate all those data and maps into a GIS.